Little open area when you come up the stairs, kind of like a loft area. He was subleasing that. There were beds there. Like, it was weird. There was a lot of different people.
While it may have been weird, it pales in comparison to what the FBI revealed about Zuberi on Wednesday. Federal agents say in mid-July he solicited a woman for sex in Seattle, then told her he was an undercover cop and she was under arrest. Zuberi then shackled the woman and drove her 450 miles south to his new home in Klamath Falls, sexually assaulting her along the way. Inside the garage of this home Zuberi was renting from the mayor of Klamath Falls, of all people. He's accused of locking the woman up in a cinder block cell.
The woman fought for her life, beating the doors and the walls of this cell with bloodied hands. Through her perseverance, she broke free and waved down a passing motorist.
Within hours of the woman's daring escape, police captured Zuberi in Nevada, one of the 10 states he's called home in the last 10 years. And since his arrest, detectives have tied Zuberi to 3 more sexual assaults in 3 of those states. And they fear there could be even more victims. And perhaps that explains why the FBI paid Bratskoff and his roommates a visit earlier this week.
There was multiple victims. There was multiple girls that they showed pictures of to us, and they were asking us if we knew about these people or these girls. We obviously didn't know any of them.
What Bratskoff and other neighbors do recall is seeing a young woman crying outside Zuberi's Vancouver home months ago when he still lived there.
My husband's like, do you want us to call the cops? Like, do you need help? Do you want some tea? Like, it's freezing out here. And she's like, no, I'm not going to tell you what he did to me. She said those exact words.
Words that now haunt Zuberi's old neighbors, who are relieved he's off the streets and behind bars.
So I'm so happy that he's gone, and hopefully it's going to be for a while.
It's worth mentioning I did speak to a sergeant with the Clark County Sheriff's Office, and he tells me in the time that Nagasi Zuberi lived in the area, deputies did respond to his house a number of times for things like noise complaints, welfare checks, and neighbor disputes involving Zuberi and the people he lived with and others. But nothing ever rose to a criminal level, and there were no arrests. I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
Developing this evening, a motorcyclist is dead after a crash with a vehicle in Gresham. The crash happened this afternoon near Stark and Southeast 168th. We understand the driver of the other vehicle remained at the scene and is cooperating. No word yet on the cause. Well, in just the past 3 months, 5 inmates have died at jails in Multnomah County, and now advocates are calling for an investigation. Our Tim Gordon looked into the unusually high number of deaths and found out the sheriff's office has a new plan.
The latest inmate death on Tuesday at the Multnomah County Detention Center downtown. The sheriff's office says 36-year-old Clemente Pineda was found unresponsive in his cell and, despite life-saving efforts, was pronounced dead. That's how most all of the 8 in-custody deaths read over the past 12 months, found unresponsive and pronounced dead. Sheriff Nicole Morrissey O'Donnell put out a statement last month saying her office takes the care of inmates seriously and that the deaths are traumatic and distressing to everyone, but adding that jails are a microcosm of society. Now on Thursday, a new statement starting with, "My commitment remains firm to identify and implement solutions to prevent deaths in our jails and achieve our collective health and safety goals." The county needs to act quickly, says Bobin Singh, who leads Oregon Justice Resource Center.
It's tragic. The urgency in which we need to get information and some transparency about what's going on is high.
Singh says a truly independent assessment is needed.
We need to have an independent entity, whether it's the Oregon State Police or some outside agency, come in, review, investigate, and produce the information publicly so that we can all understand what happened.
And now on that front, the sheriff's office says this week it formally requested that the National Institute of Corrections perform an assessment of Multnomah County's correctional facilities and their operations. And answers on some of the deaths just came from the county after KGW requested information from the medical examiner's office. Going back to July 26th of 2022, 2 deaths were found to be of natural causes and 2 were suicides. The other 4 death investigations, all since mid-May, are still pending. For 31-year-old George Allen Walker, 52-year-old Kashi Abram Harmon, 31-year-old Josiah G. Pierce, and 36-year-old Clemente Pineda. The sheriff stated Thursday that in these cases, toxicology results are still pending, but that early indications suggest some of the deaths may be drug-related.
I think first and foremost, when individuals are in custodial settings like this, highly supervised settings, it should be extremely rare for individuals to be dying in custody.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Well, the sheriff laid out some short and long-term plans for preventing inmate deaths. They include increasing the search criteria for contraband and expanding Narcan availability at the jails. Long-term, she wants more tech-like tablets for inmates and educational and vocational training. For perspective, compared to the past 12 months, the sheriff says there were no in-custody deaths in 2020 or 2021. This evening, cleanup is underway around the Portland apartment building gutted by a fire and waiting to be demolished. Crews in hazmat suits were picking up bricks and debris today around the May Apartments in Goose Hollow. A tenant who was about to be evicted is now facing arson charges for starting that blaze back in May. A demolition date is not set, but prep work has been authorized. Well, let's give you a live look this evening over downtown Portland. We're looking at 83 degrees over the Rose City with a possibility of a little more heat in the days to come. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino with your first look at the forecast. Matt, how warm are we talking here?
Yeah, pretty warm, but not excessively hot, not by any stretch. You know, one of the great things about going on live right now this time of the night is the sky cams are just lit up. The one that David just showed you, you can see Mount St. Helens silhouetted. This, of course, is Cannon Beach. Whole bunch of folks gathered over here on the north side of the Haystack Rock to see the sunset that's happening right now. It is a beauty, 65 degrees at the beach. Meanwhile, looking south from Timberline Lodge, you can see the haze that's coming up and rolling through the upper levels of the atmosphere, 57 up at 6,000 feet. And then finally, we go out to, well, we were going to go out to the Dalles, but that camera has decided to do something weird. 87 degrees there and a good sunset underway. Now, if we had a camera farther east, we'd be showing you thunderstorms across parts of Baker and Union County, down into, parts of Wallowa County as well, then also down in southern Oregon. So our first real thunderstorm outbreak in several days, if not weeks, across Oregon. We had a couple scattered ones the last couple days, but no big deal. And there is potential for new fire starts with these storms, and they're going to continue to crank up each afternoon right on through the weekend. So a little hazy tomorrow, thunderstorms east of the Cascades, and new fire starts are actually likely. And then cooler on Tuesday and Wednesday, still holding on to that chance. I'm saying there's a chance, David, of possible showers early next week. More on that later.
Always a chance. Thanks, Matt. We'll see you in a bit. Well, it is one of Portland's most iconic businesses and just the latest company in our area to deal with labor disputes. Workers at Powell's Books just voted to authorize a strike if the union bargaining team deems it necessary. Our Thomas Schultz with more.
92% of Powell's Books employees voted to authorize a potential strike this week. This comes after months of negotiation between the bookstore and their staff. And union members say they're looking for a living wage and better health care plan. For the past 6 months, hundreds of Powell's employees have negotiated for a new contract with the bookstore. So far, they say not much has changed due to a couple of sticking points.
We're trying to get folks to a living wage so that people can breathe.
Carol says a living wage and affordable health care are the two biggest issues. In a Facebook post from June 16th, Powell's Employees Union says the bookstore offered a starting wage of $16.25, $5 below the living wage in Portland. They say the offered health care plan was also unaffordable.
Things have gotten a little bit tricky, and it just feels like a situation where we might need to kind of continue to escalate.
Carol says over the past couple of decades, employees have been able to work and retire comfortably, but now that's not the case.
I know we had a worker who was talking about the difficult choice between choosing between like food and rent and medicine.
She says one missed shift could deteriorate an employee's livelihood. Nobody from Powell's management would speak on camera, but in a statement, Powell said they deeply value their employees and respect their right to engage in union activity. They also say their latest proposal increases wages and upholds health care benefits, but union members say it's not enough.
The current proposals that we've seen from the company are not meeting the needs of the workers.
Employees say there are two more bargaining dates set on August 24th and August 28th. They're hopeful that a deal can be met, but if not, they're fully prepared to go on strike. In Northwest Portland, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
You are watching KGW News, and straight ahead, former President Trump arrested and arraigned. Plus, a local resident learns his punishment for his role in the Capitol riot. And it's not quite an elky summer, but yes, Portland's famous elk statue is now officially coming back. Details on when, right after this. Welcome back. This afternoon, former President Donald Trump pleaded not guilty to 4 new felony charges in his 3rd criminal indictment. In the latest federal case, Trump is accused of conspiring to overturn an election he had lost, disenfranchising voters, and defrauding the government he once led. The indictment spells out that Trump had a right to free speech, even to lie about the election results. But the charges are centered on his alleged actions leading up to the deadly January 6th attack on the Capitol, including schemes in multiple states involving fake electors.
This is a day that we have never seen before in American history.
Well, Trump has denied the charges and once again called the case politically motivated. The next appearance in this matter is August 28th, when a trial date could be set. A 4th indictment in Atlanta's Fulton County could also soon be on the way. That would be related to Trump's efforts to overturn election results in Georgia. And earlier today, in that very same Washington, D.C. federal courthouse, a judge sentenced a battleground man to prison for his role in the January 6th riot. Here's investigative reporter Kyla Boshi.
A battleground man who took selfie-style photos with his son during the Capitol riot is headed to prison. A federal judge in Washington, D.C. sentenced Jeff Grace to 75 days behind bars. In April, Grace pleaded guilty to a single misdemeanor count of entering the Capitol without permission. The 64-year-old admitted he and his son, Jeremy Grace, went to Washington, D.C. in January of 2021 to attend a rally in support of President Donald Trump. Court records indicate they met with higher-level members of the Proud Boys. On January 6th, the father and son joined with a large group of Proud Boys and marched toward the U.S. Capitol building. Photos and videos show the duo just a few feet behind the front line of protesters who pushed past officers. Images show Grace entering the U.S. Capitol building and then watching another rioter attempt to steal a congressional lectern. In a March 2021 interview with KGW, Jeff Grace admitted he broke the law.
Why did you enter the Capitol building?
You know, I really don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I had no intention of it. And I don't want to say swept up by the crowd or swept up by my heart or swept up by this. I don't really have an answer for that.
During that same interview, Grace denied his son Jeremy entered the building.
He didn't go in the Capitol.
And Grace falsely claimed he didn't take any photos or videos.
Did you take any photos or video when you were there?
Nope.
Court records would prove otherwise. Jeff and Jeremy Grace can be seen posing together in photos and videos inside and outside the U.S. Capitol during the insurrection. Federal agents claim both men tried to delete the selfie-style videos. Grace's son was sentenced to 21 days in prison. A couple months after his arrest, a federal judge ordered Jeff Grace surrender any guns and weapons while awaiting trial after he showed up armed during what prosecutors described as pre-planned confrontations in both Portland and El Paso, Texas. Grace posted videos on YouTube and social media complaining the Justice Department treated him unfairly. And he sold shirts online displaying the U.S. Capitol with the phrase, "Our house," boldly printed on the front. According to his defense lawyer, Jeff Grace shut down his social media and wants to move forward with his life. Following his arrest, he lost his job as a truck driver, and his wife of 42 years divorced him. Kyle Aboshi, KGW News.
Well, it is official. Portland's iconic Thompson Elk statue will be returning in 2024. That is according to the Portland Parks Foundation, which says they struck a deal with city commissioners and the city arts program to bring back the elk 18 months sooner than expected. The foundation says it'll be leading the way on plans for seismic upgrades, a recirculating pump, and a graffiti-resistant coating. You might remember the elk was removed in 2020 after protesters damaged the base. The mayor has allocated $1.5 million for reconstruction and restoration. We will just say welcome back, Elkie. Matt, maybe in time for next summer.
Which would be great. You know, I think maybe you should email Elkie Summer and see if she'll send a
see what she thinks.
Selfie or something.
Yeah, we put a little photo by the elk there.
Exactly.
She might like that.
It'd be great. She might love it. It'd be super fun. Hey, what a great evening it is. It's a little bit hazy out there, but we got the Dallas Skycam squared away. And boy, am I glad we did. Look at that view. Just a beautiful sunset. Sun's gone down from this view, of course, with some scattered high clouds just lit up with the setting sun and some good color along the horizon. There is some wildfire haze out here, but not so much that it's causing us any air quality issues, which is great. 87 in the Dow, still pretty good breeze coming in and out of the west through the Columbia River Gorge. Oh, look at that sunset. Cannon Beach. Yes, indeed. And do you notice all the people gathered here watching it? I'm just going to get out of the way. But that is a spectacular view of the Oregon coast and why people gather there for sunset here on the West Coast. 65 degrees at Cannon. Made 89 today. If you recall, yesterday we made 90, and I figured we'd be a degree or two cooler today compared to yesterday, and we were. Still made 90 over in Troutdale. Kelso quite a bit cooler than 85. When we look around the state, lots of 80s in eastern Oregon, a couple of 90s. I'll show you why most areas stayed out of the 90s today. And then near 90 in the Willamette Valley. So certainly very warm. I don't consider this super hot. Temperatures up near 90, especially with the humidity being so low. So hopefully it wasn't too uncomfortable for you. So here's why it was cooler on the east side. We got thunderstorms, which of course comes with cloud cover. So the cloud cover helping to keep down the temperatures a bit, but a lot of lightning strikes here. And some of these strikes will happen outside the core of the rain. And those are the ones that are really dangerous and have the potential to create new fire starts. But even the ones that happen within the rain area can start fires later. So you get these smoldering holdovers, as they're called, that can happen here. So again, we'll have to keep a close eye on the the wildfire monitoring situation and keep a close eye on that as we go through the days and really the weeks ahead. We will see storms fire up again each afternoon right through the weekend, and that's why we have a fire weather warning until Friday for Central Oregon here, but that'll likely be extended through Saturday and Sunday. Now, the smoke forecast is interesting because suddenly we get smoke over the Willamette Valley, over the Portland area, but it's coming down from the north. There may be some small fires in western Washington, so we'll see. I think we may get some high-level haze. I don't think it's going to be too bad. Look at the satellite imagery. It's sort of a weird pattern right now because there's this upper-level storm system that's formed sort of in the middle of or almost in the middle of an area of high air and high pressure. It's really over like Yellowstone, basically. So we're getting this weird flow around that, and that's why we're getting these thunderstorms as it's tapped into the moisture coming up from the south and west. It is, however, going to keep the lid on our heat. Our temperature forecast for the weekend, I've adjusted downward again. That's the second day in a row I've done that. So perhaps some clouds around tomorrow morning. I don't think we see the showers that the model is showing there, but we will in eastern Oregon. This is tomorrow afternoon. Interestingly enough, not as much as what we had today. Then on Saturday, similar pattern. firing up potentially, though, over the Cascades and scattered storms on the east side, too. And then we'll begin to cool things down Monday, but especially Tuesday and Wednesday. Look at the rainfall forecast. What's that, right? Because it hasn't rained since June 19th in Portland, not measurable rain anyway. And we don't get much in the valleys, but the east side seeing some significant amounts, maybe half an inch at John Day, quarter of an inch up at Pendleton. So again, that'll come from thunderstorms. Our chance for rain will come after our warm but not too hot weekend as that system blows on in Tuesday and into Wednesday. So there's still a chance we get some rain at that point. It is 83 in Portland right now. Just a beautiful, beautiful evening. And sunny and a little hazy tomorrow. We climb to 87. Only 84 on Saturday because of more cloud cover. Then near 90 Sunday, Monday. There's the real cool down. Low 70s for highs Tuesday, Wednesday. We're back after this. The KGW School Supply Drive is underway, and this is our week of giving. For every dollar donated at any On Point branch, they will donate $5, making your donation go that much farther. We also want to thank Safeway. Here is Jill McGinnis with how they are helping out.
When customers donate at their local grocery store, those dollars stay in their local school district. I think this makes classrooms and teachers really be able to do what they're there for. And that's to teach, and it allows students to learn, and it takes the focus off, what's the needed supplies, and really puts the focus on what they're there for, and that's education.
It sure is. To see how the drive helps, Daisy Caballero checked in with educators along the coast about what their students need the most.
My big thing with parents is if you can just get your kid to school every day, we'll make sure that they have the supplies to get going.
School is right around the corner, which means it's time for families to start thinking about school supplies. But it's not that easy for everyone.
We work with students who are experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity. That usually is about 12% of our school district.
Over 85,000 Oregon children ages 5 to 17 were reported in poverty in 2021.
Times have kind of been tough a couple of years. We do have a lot of families that are in positions where they're kind of needing to make some tricky financial decisions.
And with inflation on the rise, families are struggling now more than ever.
Traditionally, we have about a 58% free and reduced lunch rate, according to federal guidelines. And so providing, one opportunity that parents can take off their stress load really helps.
And now you can help too by donating to KGW's School Supply Drive, which collects school supplies for more than 75 different school districts in Oregon and Southwest Washington.
What do you think your students are currently most in need of in terms of school supplies?
I think for the individual student, the two key things that are needed in our particular school district are spiral notebooks and pencils.
Usually the biggest thing we kind of need to get every year is backpacks, a lot of coloring pencils, markers, glue and glue sticks, all your kind of crafting supplies.
We're also partnering with the nonprofit Schoolhouse Supplies, which distributes these donated items. And you can join the mission in reaching the goal of providing over 15,000 students with the right supplies before the new school year.
We have a society that feels that we are going to be more successful if our students are given the academic access that they need to be successful.
If you do have the ability to donate, then it is definitely useful.
You can drop off supplies at any of these participating locations or make a monetary donation here online. Lisa Caballero, KGW News.
KGW.com/school. That's it for this special edition. We're going to take you out to Astoria to look at a beautiful sunset out there. I'm going to be back tonight at 11. If I do not see you then, have a great night.